I know some of you were around in 1979, and perhaps you remember watching on television, or you may have been on Boston Common on that rainy evening when Pope St. John Paul II came to Boston. And after greeting people driving through the city, the very next thing he did was to celebrate Mass. And you may recall Monsignor Russell Davies and Father Frank Strahan singing this song, this gospel, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" It really stuck in our minds. It was my first year in seminary. I had just entered in September, and here we were on October 1st, celebrating Mass. After rehearsing, we were in the choir, and I was standing there, drenched in rain, and celebrated with the Holy Father, a beautiful Mass. And Cardinal Law used to love to sing that song whenever seminarians would gather with him. He would sing, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" And today we hear this gospel. But I'd like to bring it to another place far from Boston Common, and that would be on the shores of Lake Gennesaret, which you know as the Sea of Galilee. And there on the shores is a little tiny church, and it is the Church of the Primacy of Peter, where near that rock which is inside the church, which is called Mensa Christi, because it's believed that that was the rock where Jesus prepared breakfast, the bread and the fish that he would share with the disciples, with the apostles, the 7 who were there after they came back, after fishing, and Jesus telling them, throw the net over the other side, and they brought in 153 fish. And he had a fish prepared for them. He had a meal prepared for them, and he fed them, like the Eucharist feeds us, like Jesus fed those with the bread that is himself. And near that church is a statue, and it's Jesus holding his hand above the head of Simon Peter. Jesus is holding a staff, the symbol of a shepherd. And it is there that we reenact or remember this gospel. "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" And many scholars have focused on the 3 different ways that Jesus speaks to Simon and the way Simon responds. Simon Peter responds. Whether it's agape or philos me, it is still love. Some say one is stronger than the other, but it is still love. And they look at Jesus using the word sheep or lambs when they're interchangeable. And what is the difference between feeding and tending my sheep? But one of the things that one of the scholars that I read focused on, and it's good for us to realize also and to think about, the first time Jesus says, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" What is Jesus referring to when he says these? Is he referring to, do you love me more than you love the other disciples? Do you love me more than you love the things of your profession, which you were just doing, fishing? Are you going to go back to fishing after I leave, after I ascend to the Father? Or do you love me more than the disciples who are there do? Those who would come after you. And so we need to look at that and determine for ourselves, what do we love more than Jesus? What do we put in the way of our love for the Lord? Is it our love for others, even family? Because no one is more important than the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. No one is more important than Jesus himself, because Jesus is the only one who can get us into heaven. No one that you know on earth can do that. It is only the Lord who died on the cross for us. Do we put our careers and things of the world in place of Jesus? Do we know that other people love Jesus more than I do? And how can I change that? How can I rectify that? How can I make it so that nothing stands in the way of my love for the Lord, who gave himself for me because of his love for me and for each and every single one of us? at home, in the chapel, anywhere. We need to put Christ first, not focus on the other things. Certainly love first, which is what Jesus is doing. He's giving Peter a way to seek forgiveness and to know his mercy. Just as Peter denied him 3 times, Jesus asks him 3 times, "Do you love me, Simon Peter, son of John?" And he responds, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." And so he tells Simon Peter, "Then take care of my sheep, feed them with Scripture, feed them with Eucharist, feed them with the Word and with actions." He says to us the same thing. Feed those sheep that are lost. Help bring them back into my fold, into my love, into my kingdom forever.